the special edition of the Great Indian SaaS Story by Ignite, a business standard marketing initiative. My name is Soumya, and today we have gathered here to discuss the many factors pushing the BFSI sector to great heights. India's BFSI sector, which is currently valued at over rupees 81 trillion, is likely to become the third largest in the world by 2025. With a robust economy, a thriving entrepreneurial spirit, and a tech savvy population, the sector already stands tall in the global landscape. It has become a beacon of resilience, innovation, and boundless possibilities. A relentless spirit of collaboration, an unwavering commitment to innovation, and dedication to serving the needs of a diverse population has propelled the sector to new heights. As we gather here today, we find ourselves at a crucial juncture in the evolution of the financial industry, not only in India, but across the globe. The software as a service or SaaS solutions has been gaining momentum. It is transforming the way banks, NBFCs, financial services, and insurance companies operate. The focus of our discussion today will be the adoption of SaaS by the BFSI sector and the way forward. We have an eminent panel of subject matter experts joining this discussion. We have with us Mr. Ajay Vernekar, Chief Information Officer, SBI Life Insurance. We have Dr. Ravi Duvvuru, Founder and Designated Director, Duvvuru and Reddy LLP, and a member of advisory group of the Regulatory Review Authority set up by the RBI. We have Mr. Vijayant, Executive Director, BFSI Microsoft India. We have Mr. Anand Raisinghani, Vice President and Head, Professional Services, BFSI, Telecom and Media at SAP India. A very warm welcome to you, gentlemen. As we see technology reshaping the landscape of financial industry, there couldn't be a more opportune time to discuss this subject. Today, we seek to delve into the enhanced agility, scalability, cost efficiency, flexibility that SaaS platforms offer the BFSI sector, empowering companies to adapt swiftly to the ever-evolving market dynamics and the dynamic demands of the customer. With this, I also welcome our audience to this discussion with the flag bearers of the digital revolution in the Indian BFSI space. Gentlemen, I'd like to begin with your comments and thoughts on our topic today. Is SaaS the way ahead for this promising sector? Mr. Ajay Vernekar, if you could start.
Absolutely. We've seen the insurance industry revolutionize with SaaS throughout the whole decade, and I've seen this myself as I've experienced the developments and digital transformations that have happened at speed. And I would be comfortable to say that the SaaS offerings that we have received from various software companies have been truly instrumental in enabling and powering our digital transformations across the organizations. So I look forward, and I am really hopeful that these solutions will be only exponentially growing and serving our customer expectations and our growth stories, supported by these SaaS offerings by large organizations.
Dr. Duvvuru, your comments.
I think there's no option as I see it, because with the complexity which is happening and the way the whole regulatory framework is going on and the obligations on the regulated entity, you need to have solutions like the SaaS so that you are fast, you're flexible, you're accurate, and you process data in a manner which your stakeholders would want you to. So I see in my view, there's no option. You have to go for the SaaS solution.
Mr. Rai, what do you think about this?
I think, if you look at Microsoft and what the way we look at, we are a very, very large SaaS provider ourselves. So we have sort of a ringside view of, how it's being consumed, how it's sort of, the history of the whole thing as well. The way we look at, all solutions and specifically SaaS is essentially saying, how can we deliver certain outcomes for financial services organizations in the country? And we look at 5 or 6 things. We look at saying that how could financial services organizations sort of increase or improve their customer engagement, the customer experience side of things? How can they empower their employees, like you mentioned in your opening remark? How can they actually, improve productivity, etc.? And then, you look at aspects like automation, modernization, and how do they manage risk, security, and compliance? And SaaS is sort of front and center of that. So today, if you look at, say, employee productivity, and what you would find is essentially SaaS platforms which empower that. What we are seeing is that, if anything, this will become even far more potent in the days to come. with things like AI being infused into it, to just make sure that you get a second level or the next level of performance of these solutions which are already there, the SaaS solutions which are already there. So I think we're in a very exciting phase of where we are with SaaS solutions. If anything, you will start seeing the power of that, going 10x, from here with things like AI getting infused in that.
Mr. Raisinghani, your comments on the topic.
Look, I think, Warren Buffett said this really well. He said, reputation is everything. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. And if you think about that, you'll do things differently. It's very important to understand that when we talk about a regulated industry like financial services, there is a significant onus that's left to all the customers, all the service providers who actually are endowed with maintaining that level of trust and security to the common citizen. There's absolutely no doubt that the pace of innovation that's warranted can only come when you actually leverage technologies that are offered on the cloud as a platform. I genuinely believe that from a segment standpoint, there is always going to be an oversight that's going to come into play in terms of, are we doing this at the cost of maintaining the level of security and transparency that is owed to the end customers? So absolutely, yes, I think it is here to stay as a delivery model. It's clearly something that's established its economics for customers across industries. I only believe that for this industry, there will always be a little more oversight that's required, just because of the onus that's put on to all the companies that operate in this space.
Well said, Mr. Raisinghani. Mr. Vernekar, I'd like to begin this conversation with you and with this question. Have SaaS solutions enabled insurance companies to embark on a digital transformation journey and become more customer centric? I ask you this because of the many roadblocks that stand in the way of insurance sector in India, be it penetration, lack of trust, stringent regulatory environment, distribution, underwriting challenges, along with fraud, misconduct, and cybersecurity and data privacy issues. Have softwares been a solution for you? If so, what has been the impact? And before you start that answer, sir, also tell us the potential challenges in integrating SaaS solutions with the existing legacy systems.
It's a great question, and I think that's really at the essence of the success and the challenges around SaaS. I can tell you in insurance, almost all insurance companies are going after, making a great experience to their customers, right? And I think I need not mention the competition that remains or has even more aggressive between insurance companies to become more competitive. Hence, SaaS solutions, I can tell you, in 2 or 3 areas have benefited us, and I strongly believe so. One is clearly the time to market, right? And the requirement to make sure that we maintain our systems over a long period of time. And had it been an on-prem solution, we all know the pain it takes for us to bring up the entire infrastructure, keep changing it, keep upgrading it, and maintain pace with the change of technology that we are saying now. The lesser shelf life of a product, which typically used to be 5-10 years, now it's just about 2-3 years. So right, by the time we bring up a enterprise-wide solution, it's obsolete, right? So I think one of the biggest advantages I see in a SaaS solution is the need to do away with completely the maintenance headache of the entire stack of an enterprise-wide solution. And second, the time to market. Today, I think a solution needs to be in the market as fast as you can deliver it, right? And one of those days where the time it takes for us to bring up the hardware, database, software, and all of the customizations that we need to do for our companies, I don't think the customer waits for that kind of time. So I think if an insurance company can identify the right SaaS solution, get on to the solution which is easily available and already there, it's just about customizing the specific requirements of the insurance process. These are two big benefits I can clearly see SaaS taking us far beyond. Another, you mentioned, Soumya, specifically about customer centricity, right? I think more than just an enterprise-wide software, the customer also is very comfortable and very very much looking for easy to use on the internet solutions when he wants to access a certain service from the insurer, right? Like gone are those days where a customer would be comfortable to come to a branch or go through a rigmarole of meeting an agent in front and placing the request, and then the agent will simply take the request and fulfill it subsequently. Today customers, we've seen, right, today's customers want to have it there and there at their fingertips in the preferred mode of device that they would like to access, whether it's a tab or a mobile or even voice today. SaaS offerings help greatly in bringing these service offerings to the customer at their preferred choice of operations, right? We've seen the growth of chatbots in insurance industry, right? Extremely well taken self-service options on their websites, and we've kind of upgraded all our apps and websites to make it self-service for our customers, right up to a claim that can be processed online. And we've seen how well the claims get processed without the intervention of the person actually visiting the branch and going through the whole process of validations and verifications, right? So in my opinion, I think all three things go together. So one is clearly the headache of maintenance, which goes away from SaaS, lower cost. Why I say lower cost? Because obviously the newer organizations would not want to go and invest in a large set of capex or an installation cost. They can choose to buy a certain service and pay per use, and that's a great service that has come to the offering of SaaS, where I can only pay for what I use, right? Or I can even selectively pick a service and then pay only for that service. So, these are great offerings that have come up from SaaS. And it was unheard of when we used to do on-premise implementation, and we have to create the whole stack. And, for a small service, I had to create the full stack, and it used to just cost so much and not qualified to service a customer at low cost, So these four areas, and not to mention flexibility, innovation, which has also brought in a great ability for us to hang on or leverage the readily available SaaS solutions, which of course have come from experience and knowledge sharing from various customers. I mean, I know Vijayant and Anand, they service a lot of customers globally, and obviously the inputs coming from all those customers are incorporated in their offerings, and we probably get to use much more than what we would have created in-house from scratch with our limited exposure that we have to the global markets, right?
Mr. Vernekar, if I were to ask you, what percentage of SBI Life's legacy systems has been successfully transitioned to a SaaS-first platform?
I think I just want to make a point here, legacy. I think the legacy still remains. So I don't think the legacy goes anywhere, because I've been with now 3 insurers, and I think more than legacy, I think we should call it core. The core will still remain. But what we've done is, Soumya, is that we've transformed the entire value chain for our customers, and revamped the entire front-end systems and brought in API aggregators, brought in microservices, modular apps and websites, and created straight-through processing for many of our customer requests, which can get fulfilled almost real-time without the need for a call center or an agent intervening. So it has created a different opportunity for us to service our customers in different forms. And for that, we have let the core remain where it is. And we've created middlewares which are more sophisticated, and obviously use tools like ChatGPT. We are doing some POC around that. And we've also brought in AI in mainstream insurance. So to say, like for instance, underwriting, right? It's at the core of insurance, right? We've brought in more than static underwriting rules. We've brought in the learning from AI, which constantly keeps updating our underwriters on knowledge and information that they can use to do more and more better underwriting correlated to lesser claims. So some of these examples are really greatly in use now. And I think it's not the end of the story. There's lots to come. And I think we are looking forward to do some great POCs and implementations in years to come in the core insurance processes.
While we are achieving SaaS friendliness, the BFSI space is highly regulated in India to ensure the protection of customer data, maintain financial stability, and prevent fraudulent activities. Dr. Duvvuru, my next question is to you. With increasing concerns on cybersecurity and data protection, what gaps do you think SaaS providers fill for both large entities and small banks to help them ensure compliance? Also, could you share your views on the cost of compliance for banks involved in adopting latest SaaS solutions?
I think, let me give a sort of a context to this whole discussion.
Sure.
I'm not an IT guy, I'm more a regulatory guy. So I'd like to bring in that background. A financial sector anywhere in the world is the most highly regulated sector. Principally because you deal with customers' money. And the aim of RBI is customer protection, depositor interest, and financial stability. Broadly, these are three pillars on what the regulation supervision works. Given that context, I would say instead of cost of compliance, what would be the cost of non-compliance? It's too heavy a price to pay. If you've seen last financial year, almost 40 crores penalty on 200 entities imposed by the RBI, which is published on the RBI website. More than the penalty is the reputation risk, as somebody was mentioning earlier. The reputation risk is phenomenal. And more than financial penalties, I increasingly see non-financial penalties coming in. You cannot onboard customers for 1 year, you cannot issue cards for 1 year, which has huge business impact. So you cannot afford to relax on regulatory compliance, risk management, governance. These are three pillars of any bank or any financial sector entity to do. Increasingly, we are seeing focus of internally and externally on cybersecurity, data governance, data privacy. These are all, discussed in the boardrooms on a very regular basis. And when we drop our heat maps, it's no longer that we put credit risk as one of the top risks in the heat map, but data privacy, cybersecurity, they're all there in the top of the heat maps. So the solution, like any SaaS solution, is extremely helpful in addressing some of these aspects. First, India is again, as I said, a highly regulated entity. In cybersecurity, we have seen huge number of incidents happening across, thankfully, but you don't see a huge number of incidents where actually the customer has lost his money. You do read media reports, but you don't see things like millions of dollars being moved out because of a cyber attack. And something like a SaaS solution would give us those tools to predict some of this stuff. For example, banks increasingly are using SaaS solutions in fraud detection. They're increasingly using SaaS solutions in AML. You can predict what if that particular customer is undergoing to take suspicious transactions or no. Increasingly using this in terms of reporting, in terms of getting those risk dashboards right. So again, as Ajay mentioned, these are very cost-effective solutions. I don't have a benchmark figure in terms of what exactly is the cost involved in setting up the solution. It varies. I mean, there are experts on the panel who can give a better view on that, but it varies in terms of what are the events you want to be covered, how complex your processes are, what is it that your boards and managements want to see, what is the expectation of your customer. And again, we are talking about one of the most important things for RBI, as I said, is customer grievance addressal. And an automated solution there is extremely useful in ensuring that the turnaround times are met. Increasingly, we're also seeing these solutions being on even underwriting, credit scoring models, etc., to again implement the Basel requirements. There is no alternate. In my opening remarks, I said there's no option. There's no option for automation, and SaaS is a great solution because I don't have to spend on capex. It's a fee-based solution which helps me in getting that particular module in and helping me in all my dashboards. So, in conclusion, let me say that it is a necessity in all your critical aspects like data governance, cyber security, meeting the customer requirements, meeting stakeholders, especially the regulators' requirements, And we just can't measure the cost of non-compliance. It's too huge a risk to take.
Mr. Raisinghani, I'd like to bring you in here. Could you help us place a SaaS firm's role in the larger picture here? How is software as a service aiding banks and insurance companies in keeping up with the dynamic demands of the marketplace? Could you tell us a little in detail about the security protocols, privacy safeguards, regulatory compliance frameworks that trustworthy SaaS providers follow when serving banks, insurance firms, and their sensitive data?
Let me address the frameworks part of the question first, right? And if you broadly look at it, RBI, IRDAI, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MITI, they comprise three of the key financial industry regulators overseeing banks, insurance organizations, and market infrastructure institutions. Their directives include outsourcing, risk management guidelines, and requirements for compliance with privacy rules governing sensitive data. So when Indian financial institutes outsource business activities to the cloud, clearly they must follow the guidelines laid down by the RBI for managing risk and addressing the issues that arise from the use of information technology. There's also fairly stringent safeguards which come into play when you have to comply with data security and privacy requirements, again laid out by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Over and above this, insurance organizations must follow outsourcing guidelines published by IRDA. So if you actually look at it, I think we've got fairly robust checks and balances. And financial firms must comply with all of these to be able to, consider using cloud services, but also as they are handling, as Mr. Ravi mentioned, handling a lot of sensitive personal data. I think the aspect that we must also appreciate is that while there is a robust framework in place, this is a fairly evolving space, right? The advancements in technology and delivery models are fairly rampant, which means that the onus to comply, while it rests with the service provider, very clearly all the ecosystem players have a part to play, right? And ultimately, if you look at it, the regulator's ultimate goal is to provide a safe, secure financial environment where the citizens of the country's interests are safeguarded. And if you actually just look at our performance over the last 10, 15 years, I would say by all measures, every single participant of the ecosystem has performed exceedingly well, right? If you come and evaluate the role of software providers or cloud service providers, I'm of the firm belief that India is at the cusp of decadal growth. We aren't talking about 2 to 3 years. It's almost 2 to 3 decades of growth ahead of us. And as such, the need for the credit institutions and the lending infrastructure, it is the cornerstone for the business and the nation to capitalize and flourish. So while there is an absolute need to operate at speed and operate with the innovation that's required and crucial, I also believe that this is a game that needs to be balanced out with all the checks and balances. And quite frankly, it's extremely encouraging to note that look at what we've just delivered with India Stack, right? Aadhaar and UPI have totally revolutionized the way we conduct business today. So when you're talking about the trifecta of identity, payments, data, there is so much for us to learn from what the government has been able to do or quasi-government bodies have been able to do. So to me, I frankly believe that we are in fairly safe hands. And ultimately, while we can sometimes believe that we are not operating at the pace at which we would like some of the developed nations to work, I think there is enough and more that RBI and all the regulators have done to be able to ensure that we are moving forward in a very, very prudent manner.
Well, I'd say something is going right for the SaaS players in India, because as of 2022, SaaS revenues in India are growing at an average of 20+%. And now I'd like to get Mr. Rai in. Well, Mr. Rai, correct me if I'm wrong, but BFSI players across the globe are moving towards the use of latest digital tools, especially automation, to reduce their cost of operation and improve security. Um, the customer is also very cost conscious right now. How much and how fast would you say automation or AI can take us on this journey in India? Because a US based digital insurance company stock gained 43% this year, helped by the momentum behind the companies facilitating a future powered by AI. Also, can you share examples of SaaS solutions enabling the development of advanced analytics, machine learning, and AI driven application in financial services?
What's happened in the past 3-4 months with generative AI and the discussion around Chat GPT. Ajay mentioned about what they're doing at SBI. With that, it's extremely exciting. I mean, if you look at it, AI has been there for a while. Artificial intelligence has been there for a while. We've had customers doing vehicle claim inspections in insurance companies developed using Azure Cognitive, etc. But I think the big change is when you look at generative AI or OpenAI right now is the factor that it's made AI accessible. It's just got that front end right in front of you, and the way you actually can now generate content. You can look at different aspects of creation, right? So that's a big change when you're looking at things like generative AI. No conversation today starts or either starts or ends without a discussion on what to do with OpenAI. And we are currently working with some of the in the largest financial services organizations on different use cases. May it be for the front end of the customer or customer engagement, could be for risk analysis, could be for AML. All of them trying to see what could they do with OpenAI, because it just opens a very new avenue in the way you would engage data. Now that's one aspect to it. The second aspect is infusing AI into existing SaaS solutions, like we talked about, and since the topic of the day is SaaS. Today, when you look at, say, Microsoft Office 365, Teams, etc., we've infused something called as a Copilot, right? Pilots we have bought into all our products. But what that means is that today, if you're actually using email systems, this AI engine will evaluate all your emails and it will even reply for you. It will suggest reply. It's a Copilot. Then you say, okay, go ahead and send this.
I've seen that.
Similarly, if you're a developer, you can actually look at developing programs. The AI will develop programs for you. It will go and pick up code and create a program for you. That's basically an example of a AI co-pilot for development, right? And even in India, because we have very large organizations here who are currently doing POCs on use cases of India scale, right? India scale is only matched by China, as we all know. So we are looking at AI actually changing a lot of things. In my mind, from an India point of view, it will also look at things like financial inclusion and how you could actually use things like voice and other aspects to really reach a populace we are not doing right now. So AI is front and center. Second piece is automation, right? And that's Ajay mentioned that in terms of looking at straight through processes and how you automate that. And what we are seeing as some shining examples of automation even in India at large scale. A very large Indian public sector bank actually has been using low-code, no-code platforms, for generating citizen-developed applications for their internal use. And similarly, we have a lot of examples of that nature where people are using technologies which are now very easily accessible, and you can actually use that to create fantastic applications for yourself. But I think the game changer is generative AI. What we've just seen in the past 3 months is just the tip of the iceberg. There will be aspects of ethics around AI and how we actually consume it, how do we secure it, etc. All of those things are being addressed as well in parallel. But generative AI is going to be something which will revolutionize financial services in particular. Generally right across society as well.
All right. So from what I understand, such capabilities help streamline the development and deployment process, enabling financial services organization to leverage advanced analytics and AI-driven applications for a wide range of use cases. Well, I'd like to come back to Mr. Vernekar and understand from him some challenges of the insurance sector and how are they leveraging SaaS to improve it. Ensuring accurate and reliable data for underwriting decisions, claims, and processing and fraud detection can be challenging in Indian insurance scenario. Also, that Indian insurance sector operates under a complex regulatory framework. How are insurers leveraging SaaS analytics to improve underwriting accuracy, claims management, and fraud prevention? along with compliance. Could you explain this to us with a real world example?
No, so Soumya, I think we've spoken about the maturity of our regulator, and how to what extent we are in fact governed by very good policies and frameworks. That itself, I think, helps us be ahead of the curve to make sure that we inculcate our own processes to make sure that security is not security doesn't come post facto,
Yeah.
but it's part of the
Yeah.
design, right?
Yeah.
For us, like for instance, in SBI Life, we make sure that whatever we do, we keep security in mind, be it just not limited to customer data, but also in terms of the vulnerabilities, the system gaps, and the issues that come around integration and integration with partners and the
Yeah.
ecosystems on the whole. Uh, I would put it in a way to say that I mean, it's a challenge as well as it's a benefit. Why? Because first, let me talk about the benefit, because today, I think Anand mentioned about the India stack that we have. It's such a powerful stack. And I think although it's not as mature as the financial industry, where, pretty much everything is available to do financial underwriting, the medical underwriting is a little far away, because obviously
Okay.
because of the personal attributes of, an unavailability of the medical health data available to that extent. But there are umpteen initiatives which are there where, like for instance, insurers share data to the central body, and the data is available to us as and when we want to do some claim checks. Now, coming back to the SaaS offering, all of these are hosted services available to insurers, and we can subscribe to them and we can use them and build them into our entire journey. So that's what we do, and I'm sure a lot of insurers do. When we do onboarding of our customers, we have these APIs within our journey, and we do these dedupe checks with the help of the ecosystem available to us to do, like for instance, CKYC. Yeah, I mean, we are one of the largest users of CKYC, and both combination CKYC and eKYC together, we pretty much get all information of our customers and validations of their KYC during the journey in a digital onboarding process. So that's one example. Other examples are when we do claims, for instance. When we get a claim intimation from our policyholder nominations, we are able to do some level of checks, I would say, not entirely, whichever is
Okay.
available on a digital platform, to check the validity of the nomination or the policy holder and its condition, and the death certificate validations, and so on and so forth. Of course, we have got a long way to go when it comes to life insurance,
Yeah.
because the data is still yet being populated and it is not completely available. But I think the journey has been great over the last decade, and it has been much better than what we were maybe 5 to 10 years back, where everything pretty much used to be a manual check and a validation and a visit that we had to do to the policyholder's location, and so on and so forth. So for us, I think the process of underwriting, the KYC, the claimant validations, and subsequent validations of the customer data has been fueled by a lot of shared services that we get from the consortiums. Like recently, we did a implementation with an account aggregator, and SBI
Okay.
Life has been one of the forefront users of account aggregators, right? And we use that extensively in our journeys. So such India stack components and consortium based services that are available today in India, I think it's a great enabler for insurers to get on to and build that API into their own digital journeys, so that as far as possible, the manual legs and the manual checks are eliminated completely, and hence we are able to service the customer faster and in a much more confident manner, because the data is digital, it is validated, and it can be verified quite easily rather than some physical check that we need to do otherwise. Ecosystem of services which are made available to insurers, um, will be very, very helpful to fasten our digital transformation and at the end of the day, service our customers faster. Like we all know, the claims that used to take days, today we're able to process claims in almost in minutes or maybe up to a day, with of course all the checks that we need to do. So I think it's been a great story for us, and we only hope that we will get more and more data points available to us for of the customer, so that it just doesn't depend on our manual risk checks that we need to do, check if it's a fraudulent claim or so on and so forth. We have all the data points available, so we are able to process those claims much faster to our customers.
Well, that's quite an interesting example and a perspective. While we're on the subject of machine learning and using it to our leverage, my next question is for Mr. Raisinghani. SaaS solutions often involve the use of machine learning algorithms and automation. How do you address the potential biases or unintended consequences that may arise from these technologies in the context of compliance decision making? And how do you maintain transparency and explainability to regulators and your stakeholders at the same time?
I think it's fair to state that there is no foolproof way to avoid bias in AI models. All right. I think that's a given.
Okay.
However, there could be some steps, some checks, some balances, some guidelines that we all need to hold ourselves accountable for as we begin to leverage this technology. And I really like one phrase that Vijayant spoke about. He said, this is going to be a game changer for society at large. Right. So this isn't an industry, this isn't an individual, this isn't one organization, but it's something that's fairly inclusive in terms of the coverage and the reach that it's going to have. And I think the first place to begin with is probably be aware of your own biases. Right. Everyone has biases, so it's really important to be aware. To say really what are the biases that I bring to the table. I think what seems to have happened and evolved over a period of time is that these models have gotten and will get really good because they're going to work on diverse and representative training data sets. Right? So you'll cut across data which includes a variety of populations, geographies, time periods, so on and so forth. But I think increasingly what will begin to emerge, if it's not already begun, is how do you work with a diverse team, right? A diverse team of developers, a diverse team of stakeholders who can help to identify and mitigate those latent biases that exist amongst each one of us, right? I think the other thing that we have also learned is that continuously monitoring AI models for bias is an important step, right? And we're fairly clear that over a period of time, these can creep into the AI models. So again, fairly important that we are mindful of this. And quite honestly, while we're trying to remove the human element of bias in it, it's a little counterintuitive, but I also believe that human oversight, right? Even with the best safeguards in place, I believe it is important to have human oversight on these models, because that's the only way to ensure that these models are not making decisions that are unfair or discriminatory. And I guess at the end of the day, you spoke about this whole aspect of explainability, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, it needs to be at a level that can be documented and be held accountable. Because at the end of the day, and I think Ajay mentioned a couple of use cases, in every single of these use cases, let's not forget there is an individual who wants to know why, right? If you are not, or if you're settling a claim at a certain level or at a certain, at a certain percentage or at a certain timeline, obviously the person wants to know why. So there is an inherent level of explainability that we owe the people who are bearing the consequences of these decisions. So like I said, no foolproof way, but I guess we will evolve. I mean, with all the dialogue that's happening on the ethics of running AI models, I'm reasonably confident we will find a way and evolve at an equilibrium that allows this technology, just based on all our learnings and all our failings as well, to evolve at an equilibrium that actually makes this meaningful for society at large?
Well, Dr. Duvvuru, I have a few numbers here for you. In ease of doing business rankings, India jumped to 63rd among 190 countries in 2020 from 142 in 2014. A country is ranked on the basis of its performance on 10 parameters that affect the life cycle of the business in that country. Showed that India ranked 13th in protecting minority investors as of 2020 and 25th in getting credit. We are climbing the ladder, but also that there are many challenges, including compliance. How do you think can a proactive organization, especially those eager to adopt software as a service, both among large legacy firms and medium entrants, get through compliance with small internal teams working on compliance management? Also, can you underline for us the role of SaaS in automating the processes, monitoring risk, and ensuring data governance?
See, one, whether it's a small, medium, or a large organization, the fact is that it's complex. Okay. And you must remember, we are in a rule-based environment. There's a lot of discussion which happened in terms of moving to a principle-based regulatory framework in 2007, but then the financial crisis hit us and we're back to rule-based compliance. And I think it stood us well in terms of those. So we have compliances, not just from one regulator, but a multiple of regulators. So it's a quite a complex world of regulations. So whether it's a small organization, medium or large organization, it is very tough to handle this. So what do banks do? They do have frameworks in place. They do have the necessary risk assessments in place. They do have proper AML systems in place, because we spoke about onboarding of customers and how critical it is. So the first thing for any bank is to onboard the right customers. And now we have the digital means in terms of video KYC is permitted with the RBI, in terms of non-face-to-face. So earlier we knew who was the customer. We used to go and chat. The branch managers used to go and chat with the customer. Used to know everything about him. But now you're sourcing the customer somewhere remote basis through digital or video KYC. Your deliverables, including your checkbooks, your ATM cards, etc., are delivered from a centralized processor. And 90% of the time, the transactions don't take place at the branch. It's on different channels, whether you're net, mobile, or ATM. So you don't actually see the customer at the branch. When was the last time you went to a branch to do a transaction? So given that we are dealing with a non-face-to-face customer, the risks are also low. So unless you have solutions like SaaS to help you, it is not possible to sort of deal with these things. So banks do, the banks tried various ways. They had large teams to handle this, but then they thought it's a smarter way to deal with it is not to have large teams, but to automate some of the stuff. You also have reporting requirements. Compliance is not just about meeting the requirements of the regulator, but there are huge reporting requirements in terms of financial reports, in terms of risk-based reporting. So unless you incorporate the SaaS solution, for example, some of the banks have incorporated SaaS solutions in risk-based reporting, and you cleverly use the entire framework for their own internal risk management. Now, there is a certain amount of governance which is there, like the boards expect to see certain dashboards which are there, which tell you what are the risks you're running. Again, without an automated solution, it's not happening. Now, credit scoring, we spoke about credit scoring, credit underwriting. Again, there's a lot of requirement in terms, banks are using SaaS in terms of helping them to do that. So it is, as I see it, it's, it's good we are moving up the ladder, but still a lot of work to be done. And we also should not forget, as my previous speaker spoke about the human element. Even when RBI talks about credit scoring, etc., or any decision making, ultimate decision has been taken by the human being. The whatever solution will only facilitate you. It will give you accurate information in a timely manner, but the decision making has to be done by you. So you have to invest in these systems in a big way. As I said, I see no alternative but invest, because the more complex it is becoming, the more reliance it is on, for example, risk, compliance, and internal audit are the three pillars which the regulator rides on. If the internal compliance, internal audit, internal risk management is on sound basis, then the regulator is happy with you, the customers are happy, and the investors are happy with you.
Yeah.
So, and it's also that, unless you have these sound control functions in place, investors are not going to put in their money. I mean, it's been proven across. So it's critical for you that you need to have these, solutions in place to manage these huge complexities. Otherwise, you'll remain where you are, and you can only dream of moving up the ladder. But without an automated solution, it is impossible to go up the ladder.
So, as I understand, by leveraging SaaS, banks can achieve operational efficiency. Mr. Rai, we have understood now that SaaS just makes it easier to navigate through dynamic markets. The advances in big data, AI, and data analytics are causing companies to become more technology and data driven than earlier, be it banks, NBFCs, or insurance companies. However, this has also led to a data privacy concern and threat of cybercrimes. How is Microsoft standing up to this challenge? Could you tell us about some of the solutions of such concerns that your company addresses around financial crimes? Also, just to add, with the increasing reliance on cloud-based SaaS solutions, how do you ensure data sovereignty and jurisdictional compliance, particularly when dealing with cross-border data transfers and storing sensitive customer information?
One of the points, and I was reading a report the other day in terms of, what kind of losses the world would face basis cybercrime. And we know that now that everything is moving digital, we hear and we see, things and like Jamtara and all of that happening all around us. So, as a very large hyperscaler ourselves, security is front and center of what we do. The other thing which Microsoft benefits from is that we get billions of signal a day from our own systems, right? I mean, there are systems deployed right across the globe for emails, for chat, for productivity, for CRM, all of that, and our own data centers. So we get a lot of signals in terms of what's happening out there, and that gives us the ability to respond and help financial services organizations, and even otherwise governments and private organizations, to respond better to threats. It also helps us create that infrastructure which our customers then use in our data centers. From a regulatory perspective, a lot has been spoken, and key to that is for hyperscalers to adhere to all the laws of the land, and we today look at 100 plus compliances globally, and including IRDA, RBI, SEBI, METI regulations in India are all complied for. Data, our principle is very simple. Your data is your data, right? And it's our job as custodians to make sure it's secure, and it's completely, in a fashion that it doesn't get compromised anywhere in the chain. So I think as an organization, responsible organization which enables enterprise transactions, we are front and center of this whole security side of things. When you look at the cloud infrastructure which is being created, and all the SaaS solutions we talk about eventually run on these cloud infrastructure, right? The other aspect is the ecosystem. So today you have ecosystem partners, who provide very specific niche solutions. We have some very large banks in this country who work with a partner of ours called BioCatch. It's an Israeli company for behavioral biometrics, for example, for retail banking applications, right?
Okay.
Things like that. So, I mean, it's not just a single party play. It's eventually it's a very large ecosystem. The whole idea is that everybody, we are as good as our weakest link. Is to ensure that everybody is at the same level of security. Microsoft has first-party solutions like Sentinel, Defender, all of that, which we deploy into these infrastructures to make it as secure as we can. But key to it, like I mentioned, is the very large global infrastructure which we have of data centers, and securing them as per the standards and regulations they need to adhere to. And these are gold standard. I can very comfortably say that. The other aspect is that the scale at which we operate gives us that whole advantage of looking at security, across the globe, and then making sure that best practices, anywhere, wherever we operate, are at the same level, which you get in any market. So those are the things which, as a very large hyperscaler, we work on. The other aspect is the software aspects, which is essentially awareness and education, right? Eventually, ensuring that people are aware of how to secure their own systems, how to both personally and for their organizations is a key aspect we work on as part of the overall posture which we help create within organizations.
Okay, well then let's understand some real life applications of SaaS from Mr. Raisinghani. Could you share with our viewers a success story of any Indian insurance firm leveraging SaaS platforms to improve their operational efficiency, reduce cost, and enhance customer satisfaction?
So Soumya, quite frankly, for us, it's a matter of great privilege that today, if you consider the top 5 private life insurers in the country, or even if you take the largest life insurance company, they leverage SAP technology and the business applications, right? So for us, like I said, it's a matter of great privilege to be able to serve this sector. If you look at it, the range of the solutions that we cover off, obviously talk to financial general ledger platforms, investment treasury management systems, as well as line of business applications. And if you look at it, in terms of key processes like hire to retire, payroll, incentive and commission management systems, as well as intelligent procurement and sourcing platforms, we've actually got a fairly large footprint of these business critical applications all deployed in the cloud with, like I said, just, if I take the top 5, I think we are prevalent with all 5 of them. Okay. I think it's important to understand that, these are not, these applications actually cut across all stakeholders. So you're talking about customers, regulators, partners, as well as internal employees. So our focus right now is essentially to bring these offerings in the cloud in a compliant manner. And I can think of one huge innovation that we've just done, which we've now called the integrated One Finance backbone. Again, it's powered by what we call as Rise with SAP. And the important piece for us is that it integrates not only the functions associated with core finance, but also brings into play the integrated treasury investment management portion, as well as it's the exact same platform that serves as the backbone for the IFRS and reporting and compliance guidelines, which are expected to come in over the next couple of years. So for us, I think the focus is to allow for SAP to take ownership of the application. And when we say ownership of the application, we mean everything which goes with application uptimes, which goes with the security aspects of it. Essentially, it's like a concierge service to say, look, we'll run that in an SLA or a compliant manner for you so that you can go in and run and focus on innovating and building the business processes or the differentiators that help you compete in the marketplace, right? So, another example I can give you is, in the insurance domain, or actually, this is something that we can cut across all industries. The war for talent, the ability to retain talent is such a huge process. And the whole angle of customer experience, and in this case, the customers are your agents, your feet on the street, your internal employees, right? Gone are the days where you look at HR transformation programs that go for 18, 24 months. We've just concluded a fairly large HR transformation where we moved close to 20,000 employees in a span of 24 weeks, right? And that's really massive when you talk about the pace of what's really possible on the cloud, because a lot of companies are now saying, hey, what can I do to fit to standard, right? It's not about trying to say I'm differentiated in every process, but you bring in your differentiation in other aspects of how you engage, what your policies are. But as far as standardization is concerned, I think that's one of the biggest benefits that we see as we move to the cloud. I think right in the beginning, Ajay also touched upon this point about time to market, right? The pace at which you're able to make change. And I think it's also important to understand that just like individual organizations evolve as well, there is a different dynamic, there's a different environment under which every organization operates. So to be able to bring about this change while ensuring that the ecosystem of applications continue to offer or operate in a homogenized manner, is the other piece that we are continuously seeing. So to that extent, how easily do you integrate with an overall enterprise architecture? How easy is it for us to understand the application, the inherent application awareness as we drive and use technologies like artificial intelligence or RPAs? I think these are again things that we've seen customers demand of us. So yeah, like I said, hugely privileged to be able to customer and partner with a lot of these customers in India. So thank you for that.
Mr. Vernekar, we've by far pretty much understood the marvels that SaaS brings to the table. I want you to help us understand what are the key performance indicators and metrics that life insurance firms should consider when assessing the success and effectiveness of their SaaS adoption initiatives.
Yeah, like I said, Soumya, for us, I think the whole focus is to make sure that we bring in greater customer experiences to our customers.
Yeah.
And that can be in any form. It can be bringing innovative products, bringing products faster to the market, servicing them, over a long period of time. I mean, you're familiar with the life insurance, product services a customer, fairly long lifelines, right? 15 years, 20 years, and creating that experience to that customer is really a long-term plan that we need to have. And it obviously needs to have innovation, speed to market, scale. And I think scale, I didn't mention that. For us, scale is really critical because the number of customers, the number of transactions that we service is fairly large. And for us to keep up to the upgrades and to the growth of the organization, SaaS comes to the rescue because it's like, Anand said, it is hosted on the cloud and we get the benefit of, scale as you grow. So there is no headache that we have to take on to make sure that we keep upgrading our infrastructure to be compliant and scale it to the need of our growth that we need to have. And plus bring in the innovation that pretty much is impossible in-house, right? And I think even though we say that customer data needs to be on-premise, and that is one area where we are also very, very sensitive about to make sure that we have control on our customer data. I think that's the only bit of a challenge where there's a bit of, I wouldn't say it's a lacuna, but it's more of comfort that insurers or organizations who want to safeguard data of their own customers should get that comfort that they have placed the data in safe hands in a SaaS offering or a SaaS infrastructure that is outside their control. But nevertheless, not to say that the infrastructure is less secure, but I would give my advice to say that most often it is the process around the infrastructure that is either strong or weak. And I think if we keep that in mind, the scale and the time to market and the innovation that we get from the SaaS offerings is really a great story for us to cling on and derive more and more benefit from the SaaS providers, who again, I mentioned, with experience and the upgrades that they do on their products are readily available to you, right? And it just doesn't have to be upgraded myself. And I don't have to keep up to speed to the features and upgrades that the SaaS service providers bring in, because I'm not the right competent really party there. I mean, the SaaS service providers know best their own product, right? And I should get that product fastest, and I can then customize that product to my benefit to service my own customers, and I'm able to do that well at speed, scale, and security. I think that's a great value proposition for me, at least, to pursue this space. And in my experience, I know Anand mentioned we've got GL systems which are on SaaS offerings. We've got ERPs. We've got call centers on SaaS offerings. So I think it's moving to core functionality in all BFSI organizations, and it is not left to small innovations and smaller applications which can be utilized for SaaS. So I would think these advantages are far, far more than the challenges that we have. And like Dr. Ravi said, there's a long way to go. definitely need a lot of data and a lot of insights coming in from the ecosystems, which we can cling on at the end of the day to benefit the customer with faster turnaround times or servicing the customer faster, and not take our own time to do our bit of risk checks and validations at the cost of delay or an incorrect experience that we should avoid giving the customer in any part of the journey that he's with us.
Well, that was very well put, Mr. Vernekar. This brings us to the last segment of this conversation, projections and prediction. But before we get to that, Dr. Duvvuru, we have a question from the audience. Akash Anupam is asking, how long do you think it will take banks, especially PSBs, in integrating generative AI in their services and internal processes?
You see, I think it will take a while because first you should remember that public sector banks most of them have gone through a merger process and consolidation process. So most of them are actually just getting over the whole system integration, core banking systems, all other apps, and getting to service the customer with the integrated platform. So then they're focusing on, also, if you look at it, I've seen some banks now going ahead on spend on technology more than what they were doing in the past. So there is a focus. I've been interacting with senior public sector bankers over the last weekend on some project. All of them they uniformly said that there's a huge realization on investment in technology and the way to give better customer service. There's no other alternative but to invest in technology. Now, would you then go into AI? I guess, and machine learning, etc. It may take little time. My sense is it may go in parts. There's nothing regulatory preventing you in terms of, for example, if I want to do some AI bit in my AML piece, which is absolutely logical to do that, or if I want to build an AI in my fraud risk management, there's nothing which is stopping you. As I said, the only thing which the RBI says is the final decision has to be taken by you. Second, the data has to reside in India. The data cannot reside outside India. And then the question of the usual norms and data privacy, data security, all that stuff. So there's nothing which is preventing you. I don't see that coming in. But I think more in terms of your preparedness, some of the private sector banks, including foreign banks, have gone into this. They're already there in terms of initial stages. Are they there completely? No, it will take time. But public sector banks, in my view, will take some time.
Very interesting perspective there, sir. Mr. Vijayant Rai, my last question is to you. Looking ahead, what are Microsoft's prediction for the future of SaaS adoption in the BFSI sector in India? And also, what technological advances or trends can we expect to see in coming years?
Thanks, Soumya. I think, looking ahead, and I wish I had a bowl to sort of look into the future, but some things are very clear, crystal clear when I look at the future. One is SaaS adoption is like every panelist here agrees, is the way to go forward. It's the way to consume technology, and that will continue. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you will see an infusion of AI in these platforms, may it be for CRM, may it be for employee productivity and all of that. You'll see an infusion of AI in that. The other big trend, and that again was discussed, and I think the last question also which came to you around generative AI is going to be something which we all need to look out for. We are working with a lot of banks, private sector, including public sector as well, a few of them, in terms of POCs on generative AI. For different use cases. So that's something which is definitely a huge trend, which is, which you can look out for. We're seeing a trend around utilizing data, right? And we are currently, in the process, or we've already deployed some very large data lakes in the industry in India here. And these are organizations trying to make use of their legacy data, but also, data as it's coming right now from different sources for cross-sell, upsell, reg reporting, all of that. So data and AI is, in my mind, is going to be a huge trend on top of the SaaS platforms which we already have, but independently as well. In my mind, those are the couple of large trends which you'll see. Automation is the other.
So overall, the future of SaaS adoption in India in the BFSI sector is likely to witness a significant growth, as I understand from my esteemed panel of experts. Financial institutions will increasingly rely on SaaS solutions to drive digital transformation, enhance data and analytic capabilities, ensure compliance, and deliver superior customer experiences. With advancements in technology and a focus on security and regulatory compliance, SaaS adoption in the BFSI sector in India is expected to reshape the industry and fuel innovation in the coming years. Well, this has been a very informative and engaging conversation with you, gentlemen. I thank each of you for taking out the time to participate in this discussion. You've provided us with valuable insights into challenges, opportunities, and future trends in the BFSI sector. A sincere thank you to our audience for their time and enthusiasm. We look forward to connecting with you again in our future discussions and events.